I got a call one day from Gypsy Lady, and she called me on the road and said, "John, there's a ski resort in a town called Somerset, Pennsylvania, named Hidden Valley. They read about me in a magazine called the Appalachian Mountain Trail Guide. I'd been singing in Berkeley Springs, West Virginia, at a place called the Cool Font Resort. I had been interviewed for the magazine, and there was a 4 or 5 page article about me, and the Hidden Valley wanted to hire me. I drove there and auditioned for a job in their bar, the Snowshoe Lounge. The resort was a small mom-and-pop place owned by a nice man named George Park. He and his family and staff welcomed me with open arms. I didn't know at the time that 25 years of my life would be spent singing in and out of Somerset County, the very land my ancestors had pioneered. I truly had no idea how small the world really was. Many friends, many lovers, many bottles of whiskey, and many bars and towns have become a part of my life on the road in western Maryland and western Pennsylvania. It was always the area I went to for refuge when the road got to be too much. It still is. Because that is where I am now, at age 53, writing this book. I remember turning 30 in the Laurel Mountains. I met a man named Randy Myers, one of the best entertainers, single acts around. He had so much fun with the customers that everybody came from miles around to hear him. We were both single acts, but our shows and styles were completely different. He played at Hidden Valley and also 30 miles away in a town called Jeannette, Pennsylvania, in a bar called the Sportsman's Lounge, owned by Walt and Shelley Bickner. Randy talked me into going to Jeannette one night to the Sportsman. A bunch of folks were going from Hidden Valley, and I was in town resting up after singing all summer in Ocean City, Maryland, and Virginia Beach. I always stayed at a good friend's cabin when I came in between road trips. It was a safe spot for me, and Jerry Knepp was a true brother and still is. He's married now and has 2 boys, and I know I would be welcome, but I prefer having my own place to go now. I can close the door and be alone with my memories and my thoughts. That's very important when you're an entertainer. Well, a bunch of us loaded up and headed to Jeannette to see Randy play. You must realize I don't have a competitive bone in my body. I only have total respect for other musicians and try to learn from them. Randy was great, and any time I got the chance, I went to watch him. The Sportsman's Lounge was in the middle of several townships, Penn, Pennsylvania, Irwin, Pennsylvania, and Jeannette, Pennsylvania. These small towns were originally settled by Irish, Italian, German, Polish, and Hungarian immigrants. They came here to work in the steel mills, western Pennsylvania, or should I say the small boroughs and towns around Pittsburgh, is one of the most family-oriented areas of the United States I have ever been in. Each block in these communities is a different nationality with its own church. When the children grow up, they don't move very far away, and they all come to Mom's house for Sunday lunch. They stay and work and live in the town they grew up in for many generations. Most of these people still live in and own their great-grandpap's house. It's totally amazing for a person like me who's not had a home in 32 years. Well, I wound up singing that night at Randy's gig, and the Sportsman started booking me every time I came in to play at the ski resort at Hidden Valley. What a great bar full of fine family people. It went on that way till Walt and Shelley sold the place, and the people packed the place out every time I played there. They loved the stories and songs and took great care of me. One day while playing there, I was standing on the stage toward the end of the night, and 3 or 4 young women came in and sat at the table in front of the stage. They were young and pretty, and I was drunk, and hadn't been with a woman in quite a while. I'd been traveling so many miles that I spent most of my nights alone on the road. There was one woman at the table that had eyes that looked like pools of love. Her hair was shiny, curly, and dark brown, and I fell in love while I sang to her. She sang along on all the John Denver and James Taylor songs, and at 1:45, I gave last call and stepped off the stage, and as I walked behind her chair, I just reached up and ran a lock of her hair between my fingers. As I did, she turned and caught my hand with hers, and our eyes met, and she smiled and said, "Thanks for the memories." I simply said, "How about breakfast?" She said, "Sure." I said, "I got to pack my equipment into my truck and get paid." She said, "I'll help." I melted and went to find Walt so I could tear down and go. Who was this person? Why had she walked in that night? Why did I feel like I'd known her forever and yet didn't know her at all? It's a connection that I have learned through the years to either act upon or run away from. Winter, 1981. The Pine Motel, room 19, Irwin, Pennsylvania. Kate. She walked into the bar that night and heard me sing a song. She looked into my eyes with fright and softly sang along. Last call came and I stepped down from the stage and I passed her chair. I touched her hair. I saw her eyes, and Lord, I felt my age. She caught my hand, she caught my eyes, she saw my pain and realized I was alone and cold and feeling old. She said, "I'd like to thank you for the memories." I said, "Honey, won't you come and spend the night with me?" And she said, "Sure." So I loaded that old truck and I got my pay and I held her tight all through the night. I dried her tears and then I heard her say, "I caught your hand, I caught your eyes. I saw your pain and realized you were alone and cold and feeling old." I loved her then, and I love her now. And I don't know when, and I don't know how, but when she left that day, she stole my heart away. Now the life I lead is a guitar-picking gypsy man, and I make my living on the road as a one-man band. Every night when I leave those bars and I drive off in that old worn-out car, from Maine to Spain and Rome to Nome, I see her face as I look up to the stars. She caught my hand, she caught my eyes. She saw my pain and realized I was alone and cold and feeling old.